Hello students to secondary. This is chemistry unit 1 talking about the atomic structure. The first part of this unit talks about history of the atom, which means that we are going to talk about some scientists and philosophers that played an important role in discovering the structure of the atom. First scientist or first person is Democritus. This is a Greek philosopher. The first person who talked about the structure of matter is Democritus. He derived the word atom from the word atomos, which means in the Greek uncuttable. He said that if I cut a piece of potatoes into parts, and continued cutting, he said that after thousands of cutting processes, I will arrive to part of the potatoes which cannot be cut again. He called this part atom, which means uncuttable. So he said that matter is made of invisible and indivisible. Invisible cannot be seen and indivisible cannot be cut particles. This is his opinion about the atom. Second one is also a philosopher called Aristo. He is also a Greek. He saw that everything is made of 4 elements or 4 components. Everything is made of 4 components or 4 elements: fire, air, water, and earth. These 4 components or the 4 elements are combined together to form any substance. He thought also, Aristotle thought also, that it is possible to convert cheap materials like iron, for example, into valuable materials such as gold. He thought that this was not correct, but at this time he said that. This is all about Aristotle. Matter consists of 4 elements or 4 components: fire, earth, water, and air. This is Aristotle. Second one is a scientist called Boyle. Boyle was the first person who defined an element. Nobody said anything about the element before Boyle. Boyle is the first one who defined the element. He said that the element is a pure, simple substance that cannot be broken down into simpler substance by any method, which means that oxygen is one element, but water is not an element. It contains 2 elements. It's a compound, not an element. Oxygen you can't get hydrogen from oxygen, but you can get hydrogen from water, but not from oxygen. Oxygen is one type of substance, element. You can't get any other element from the element. Oxygen is one element, hydrogen is one element, sodium is one element, and so on. This is all about the element from the standpoint of Boyle. Here is Dalton. Dalton is a scientist. Dalton, the first person who claimed a theory of atom. He said that the atom is part of substance. He introduced a model called Dalton's atomic model. From this model, element is composed of very minute particles called atoms. Each element is composed of very minute, very small, indivisible solid atoms. He said the same thing like Democritus, that element consists of very small parts called atoms. Atoms of the same element are very similar to each others, but atoms of different elements are different, which means that, for example, atom of sodium is similar to the atom of sodium. Atom of oxygen is similar to the atom of oxygen. Oxygen like oxygen, sodium like sodium, chlorine like chlorine atom, and so on. But different atoms are different. Atom of iron is different from atom of oxygen, and different from atom of sodium, and so on. He said also that compounds are formed by the combination of atoms of different elements in a simpler numerical ratio, which means that when a compound is formed, atoms combine together. One atom, for example, reacts with one atom, or two atoms with three atoms, four atoms with seven atoms, simpler numbers, which means simpler ratios. The second scientist, or next scientist, is called Thomson. Thomson was working on different experiments. One of his experiments was on a tube that he invented. This tube is called cathode rays tube. It is made of glass to metal to glass. This is glass. Two elements here, maybe iron, aluminium, copper, and so on. This tube is evacuated from air. The quantity of air here is very small, the pressure is very low. Then these two wires are connected to a battery of high voltage. When this happens, when these electric wires are connected to the battery of high potential, he noted that rays are produced, like these rays inside, these white rays. These are called cathode rays. He said he called these rays cathode rays. He tried to know the nature of these rays. What are these rays? It was strange. He discovered that these rays are electrons, negatively charged electrons. How he discovered that these electrons are negatively charged? When he put a magnet here, he noted that they are deflected upwards or downwards according to the position of the magnet that he put here. When he put an electric field here, electric field means positive pole and negative pole here, he noted that these rays are also deflected towards the positive pole. The deflection towards positive pole indicates that these rays are negatively charged. He said that these negatively charged rays consist of very small particles called electrons. He is the first person who discovered electrons. The battery that he used was connected to these wires. The battery has two poles, positive pole and negative pole. The negative pole is called the cathode, the positive pole is called anode. The negative pole of the battery, when connected to this pole, for example, electrons move in this way. If the negative pole here and connected, the electrons moves from the negative pole towards the positive pole. So these rays are called cathode rays. Cathode rays, cathode negative pole, anode positive pole, and move in this way from the cathode to the anode, from the negative pole of the battery to the positive pole of the battery. These rays have many properties. They are made of electrons, negatively charged. they travel in a straight line. They are affected by electric and magnetic field. When magnet and electric field are put, they are deflected. They have thermal effect. When they move, you feel that this part are hot. This part is hot. And they never change by changing the cathode. Yeah, when these two metals are iron, we get cathode rays. When they are made of aluminium, we get cathode rays. Whatever these metals are, we get cathode rays. This means that all metals or substances contains electrons. This is the conclusion of this experiment. The most important discovery of this experiment is that he discovered electrons are part of any atom. So he introduced a model called Thomson model. This model states that the atom consists of a positive ball, positive sphere, and electrons, negatively charged electrons, are embedded inside. يعني الاتوم عبارة عن positively charged بول، كورة كبيرة كده عليها بوزيتيف كبيرة جدا، والالكترونز عليها كل الكترون عليه شوية نيجاتيف، بحيث ان كل النيجاتيف دول يبقوا نيوتراليزد مع البوزيتيف الكبيرة. في الاخر الاتوم نيوترال. The atom is neutral، والالكترونز دول نيجاتيف، كل النيجاتيف دول يعادلوا واحدة بوزيتيف كبيرة اللي هي البول دي، بحيث ان في النهاية البوزيتيف والنيجاتيف يبقوا neutral. In this way we finish this lesson, and to meet again later inshallah. Goodbye.